this exciting show. We are going to speak on how to protect Hindu minorities. We have spoken a lot about this topic many times in the past, but this time I have a very special guest, and he has been very vocal about protecting Sanatan Dharma and protecting the Hindu minorities. See, the thing is, there have been many laws have been produced, but more comprehensive approach is needed. And it is also a dharmic work to protect people who believe in dharma. So without delay, I introduce you back. He's a very popular person, and I introduce you back, Sri Abhijit Iyer Mitra from India.
Har Har Mahadev.
Hello, Mahadev. It's such a pleasure to have you. You're smiling.
Always a pleasure to be here, Adi. Thank you for having me.
And so, Abhijit, we only hear about minorities means non-Hindus and non-Sanatan Dharma. We only hear that. But in India, and especially India, Bangladesh, and Pakistan, and I included India also, because even though the population demographically wise they are majority, but still they are worse treated by the successive Indian governments. Uh, and so they have in India also, I call them minorities now, because whether it's a Hindu government or a Muslim government or any other government, Hindus are always at the loss. So do you agree with me, and what you comment on that, please?
So here's the thing. Hindus are at the receiving end no matter where they are, right? You look at Pakistan, you follow this Twitter handle called Rahat Austin. He's a Christian minority rights activist in Pakistan. Almost every second day, Hindus are being raped, killed, forcibly converted, their houses destroyed, something or the other happening in Pakistan. Okay. Nobody raises that issue. Not even the so-called pro-Hindu Indian government raises that issue. Okay. Then you come to India. The temples were forcibly nationalized. To be fair, it was a lot of the priests who went and said, take over the temples. But then what the government did was it took over all the temples. Even the ones that did not want to be nationalized, they got nationalized. Now, Tirupati is the second richest temple in the world after Vatican, okay, in terms of connections. And we hear a news report about a week, 2 weeks back saying that they are now having financial difficulties paying their priests. What happened to the money? See, the money is used by the Andhra government for all its social schemes. And now, in order to pay the priests, they want to auction off temple lands. Thankfully, it's been stalled because of the public outrage. But they want to auction off temple lands to pay the priests. What happened to all the money that has been raised so far? It isn't spent back on Tirupati. It is all taken as a revenue of the government. And YSR, the chief minister there, is known to be quite a radical evangelist. So he keeps pushing all the money out to his constituency and all those who helped him with slush funds and money laundering and whatnot, because, religion is the best way of money laundering in any country. You can get away without registration. You can come up with, nonsense like, I believe that there is a UFO god with, I don't know, a penis 60,000 feet long and a 60,000 eyes or whatnot. And because it is classified as a faith, you get protection everywhere. Thankfully, Germany is the only exception to the rule. They're quite brutal in classifying people as cults, like they did Scientology and things like that. But you look at it here, a pro-Hindu government isn't willing to protect Hindus. You have governments in India that blatantly violate even the Indian definition of secularism, which is dharma nirpeksh, which is to not choose sides. You can do religious, dabble in religion, but you're not meant to choose sides. You're meant to play everything equally. If you do one thing for someone, you have to do it for everyone, kind of thing. They violated absolutely blatantly with impunity, protected, mind you, by the Supreme Court. When Hindus are persecuted abroad, you have absolutely nobody talking up for them. Remember when Idi Amin kicked out the Indians from Uganda, both Muslims and Indians and Hindus. what happened was Nehru refused to get associated with it. It was Britain that had to take all of them, right? So there is this classic case out here of everybody has a protector in chief except Hindus, except Buddhists, except Jains. Nobody's really willing to protect those dharmic faiths. Okay, even Sikhs, nobody's actually willing to protect them because even their overseas bodies, like Jagmeet Singh in Canada and the Khalistanis in the UK, are completely sold out to Pakistani interests. It was a deal they did in the 1980s when the Punjab insurgency was at its peak and the Kashmir insurgency was starting off at the end of the 80s. Pakistan wanted to have a simultaneous insurgency, so it told its subordinates not to attack Sikhs in Kashmir. In return, of course, for all of these Sikhs supporting the ISI or whatever else these people had. And it's now, even the international Sikh bodies are so compromised, they won't stand up for the basic tenets of their own faith. I mean, Jagmeet Singh is an out and out terror apologist, right? Yet he gets a free card. You have the man who killed the Congress chief minister, blew up the Congress chief minister of Punjab, Beyant Singh. His brother was a government official, deeply rooted in government and all of that. And the other people who assisted in the conspiracy, the Akal Takht sitting in India, went on trying to push this thing saying, get him acquitted, get him out of jail, get him this, get him that, blah, 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 blah. So, you have a whole system that is completely compromised, tone deaf, whatever. I don't know. But it doesn't look good. And the response to all of this, very sad to say, in fact, amongst Hindus, especially in India, is they conflate Narendra Modi with Hinduism. If they don't conflate Narendra Modi with Hinduism, they demand a purity test for every Hindu, which is, do you eat beef? Yes, then you can't be a Hindu. Then do you eat meat? Then you can't be a Hindu. I mean, forget everybody in our texts, Rama, Lakshmana, Sita, they all ate meat because they went hunting. And you don't just kill animals just for no reason at all. You actually eat the animal that you kill. The Ashwamedha Yajna, you ate the horse. You basted it with ghee. You roasted it with ghee and you ate it. So on and so forth. But they have their own definitions. And unless you fall into their definitions, they don't want your help. I think in a sense, we've gotten into this thing where we're so far behind every narrative that I'm not seeing the light at the end of the tunnel.
No, you're right. You're right, and you put it very well. And based on what you told me and just now, looks like Hindus, Sikh, and Buddhists, we are the only godly people because we only God to save us. And so everyone else is mostly atheistic because they have others to save them. Now, my next question to them, that was in jest, that was a comment in jest. My other question is, especially Hindus becoming minority in Kerala and to some extent in parts of Bengal, Uttar Pradesh, and Kashmir Valley, small valley, where there are already minorities. Now, all of these places, Hindus have been severely discriminated against by the Hindu leaders. And I'm not blaming just the Muslims because they are supposed to, work against Hindus. But why Hindu leaders have abandoned them? Which is
Well, let's go back to what Gandhi said. The Muslim is fundamentally a bully. The Hindu is fundamentally a coward. I didn't say this. Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi said this. You look at our history, it is full of collaboration and cooperation with those who want to destroy us. Till Qutbuddin Aibak takes over after and starts the Delhi Sultanate starting sometime in 1200 and something. There was an 8-year gap from 1192 where Prithviraj Chauhan lost the Battle of Tarain What people don't want to talk about is that, was it Ghori or was it Ghazni? I keep forgetting. I mean, there's such a lack of naming diversity in those names that, it's just impossible to remember who is who. They came and they crowned Prithviraj Chauhan's son as the puppet king, who ruled for 8-9 years, whatever, till Kutkuti Nebab takes over. We never hear about what happens to Prithviraj Chauhan's son, executed, whatever, we don't really know. And we have a whole case of, Aurangzeb, who was reintroduced jizya after Akbar abolished it. The standard defense is he employed more Hindus than anybody else. Now you actually challenge them and ask them, to provide documentary evidence of this. What is this based on? I'm yet to see the primary sources and the veracity of those sources on how Aurangzeb employed more Hindus in his court than anybody else. But it also tells you this nature of Hindus, that they don't really give a damn about the community. They're more all about themselves. Let's protect ourselves. Everybody else can just look after themselves. You see the same thing with the current government as well in India, right? They use a lot of Hindu rhetoric. Their actions at protecting Hindus exactly zero. There is this thing about the CA, the Citizenship Amendment Bill, CAB, which, what is the reason for the cutoff in 2014? Did persecution of Hindus in those areas stop after 2014? No. Did the persecution of Jains stop after 2014? No. There are no Jains left in Pakistan as far as I know. You look at Tamilnadu. A man was the owner of a Jain bakery, was put in jail because a fake image was circulated by a Muslim lawyer in Delhi saying Muslims will not be hired. I can show you newspaper clippings that keep showing you that only Muslims will be hired, only Christians can apply for this job, etc., etc., etc. And this is the Jain community, which is a minority. He is still thrown in jail in spite of having that constitutional right to discriminate on religious grounds on employment. Okay, he was granted bail, that's a different matter, but he was arrested. Tell me anybody who takes penal action against Muslim only may apply or Christian only may apply advertisements out here. Nobody does. And the problem here is that we've tied up too many things. We've got only one political movement called the RSS, which has only one political party called the BJP. And that one political party, the BJP, thinks it being in power in itself is enough. They don't have to do anything, and everybody's a volunteer. They shouldn't expect anything in return. They are serving for the glory of serving whichever tin pot little pygmy is in power at the moment. And everybody should just be happy with that. Okay. So what you see is a willingness to, we have nothing that binds us together. Okay. There's no sense of community. Simple example, when, I don't know who won the Battle of Tarain, but the other guy, either Ghori or Ghazni, I keep confusing the two. But whoever, when he comes and sacks Somnath temple in 1000 and something, the same year that he sacked Somnath and killed 30,000, broke the Shivalinga there, and killed 30,000 people that were seeking refuge inside the temple. That very same year, the great Shiva Bhakta, Rajendra Chola of the Chola Empire, launches this massive naval invasion of Malaysia against the Sri Vijaya king. He was completely unconcerned that a heathen had come and broken one of the Jyotirlingas. He didn't even feel it his kingly duty to go protect those Hindus. He felt no compassion for them. He had no even a sense of these people are Hindus that need to be protected. It was just something esoteric. Hua to hua. You remember that famous
That's right.
Sam Pitroda line? Huh? Hua to hua. 1984, hua to hua. Somnath hua to hua. I will be more interested in, plundering Malaysia and things like that. This is a classic trait that we have. So, as a people, Huntington in that book, Who We Are, he defines the fundamentals of a nation as substance and salience. Substance is what binds us together. Salience is what separates us from others. What Hindutva did was it managed to create salience, but it never created substance. To this day, we lack substance. We are more interested in purity tests and chastity tests rather than standing up for the people that we need to stand up for.
There
And
is
meanwhile, you have a political party that gets votes in the name of Hinduism that really doesn't give a shit about Hinduism.
no in Bhagavad Gita. It's very clear when Krishna says one of the core definitions of Kshatriya is Yuddhe cha apalayanam. And I think that teaching of Bhagavad Gita is grossly actually not taught at all. That not showing the back in the battlefield is the quality of a Hindu practitioner or a warrior. But I think that most of the children want their kids to, I would say that most of the parents want somebody else's kids to be sacrificed than their own kids to protect something what they believe in. And it is starkly different than other faiths. You can have Christians who can die for their faith. They come all the way from US or Australia, leaving their comfortable homes to preach in some place in India or Africa where they have no such facilities also. No, so they sacrifice their life for their faith. But I have not seen a Hindu person trying to do the same for their faith. So do you think the faith is very weak or shallow, or they don't know what they're doing?
No, we have cowards masquerading as protectors of the faith. That is the problem. We have spineless mongrels and swines pretending to be holy people. We have spineless mongrels and swines pretending to be defenders of the Hindu faith who are all in it to make a quick buck. Nobody is actually here to protect the faith. But remember, Hinduism has a very old tradition of, fighting on to the last stand. Look how many times every city in Rajasthan got slaughtered to the last man, woman, and child. Chittorgarh is the classic example. Khilji destroyed it. I think the Tughlaqs also destroyed it. The Mughals destroyed it. Every single time they were willing to die over and over and over again. If you look at it technically, at the time of independence, Delhi was a Muslim majority area.
Correct.
So from Pakistan, which was determinedly a Muslim majority, to Delhi, these are the unsung heroes who went on dying, whose stories we will never know. It is just a footnote in history that they fought a last stand and they died. I mean, I have my own criticisms of why they never managed to improve their tactics and never win a battle. This was something that also perturbed the Vijayanagar king. At least one of them, always used to keep asking the question, why do the Muslims keep winning battle after battle? Why is it that Hindus keep losing battle after battle? I mean, he never found a suitable answer. I kind of know the answer vaguely, which is the DRDO syndrome. What was then is also now. We had this over-reliance on horses. When you can't breed good horses, you try to find tactics that neutralize horses. They never did. There was always this fixation on pomp, glory, and pride because horse is a rich man's thing. Therefore, it is the glory of whatever. There was a lot of this glory masquerading around, which was a very dangerous thing. That you're willing to put up a last stand, like the Jews at Masada facing the Roman troops, which is fine once in a blue moon. But remember, Masada didn't keep happening over and over again. Here we never have that. So what we've seen is that people found exit routes in Hinduism, cherry picking, to justify their own cowardice. Okay, but what does it tell you that in this day and age we're still talking about dying for our faith? This was something that was done in barbarous pre-industrial uncivilized times. We're still talking, we're still having the same conversation today. What does that tell you?
Very good point. Very, very good point. And I think that will make a lot of thought process of many people have to think deeply on this. My one last question for this session is is that many Hindus they and practitioners who call themselves following Sanatan Dharma, they have a habit of claiming that they never initiated a war. Now, if you look at
Complete rubbish.
In the Western context,
Atta, what do you think the Ashwamedha Yajna was? The
no,
Ashwamedha Yajna was about initiating wars. What do you think Rajendra Chola's expedition to Sri Vijaya was? Huh? What do you think? How do you think the Maurya Empire, the Gupta Empire, the Satavahan Empire, any single empire in India, did they distribute rasgullas to each other? Did they distribute laddus to each other to go win their empires? Eh? They at some point of time, Alexander defeated Seleucus. Sorry, not Chandragupta Maurya defeats Seleucus Nicator, and he gains the whole of Afghanistan. Those two provinces were called Gedrosia and Arachosia. He gains them. What do you think the armies did on the battlefield? You think they had a feast? You think they had what, beer ping pong? They played poker. They played rummy. They played roulette. And that's how we got Gedrosia and Arachosia. Are you kidding me? What do you think these kings were doing? Right? This is the kind of hogwash, complete and utter hogwash, selective cherry picking. Indian kings were very violent. The Ashwamedha Yajna, in a sense, one of the reasons that European knights were almost constantly it was still balanced out, but they were almost constantly better than Muslim cavalry for a very, very long time. Okay, was because of internecine warfare in Europe, internal war, which forced a rate of innovation and constant military preparedness, which prepared you to fight against the Saracens, as they were called, in the Holy Land, in Sicily, in the Emirate of Cordoba, and things like that, throughout this period. Okay, it was the same thing of the Yashwamedha Yajna and constant fighting within. Yes, it was terrible for the ordinary people and la-di-da-di-da, but that is what kept you a martial race. Why is it that up to around 1192, which is when the Battle of Tarain happens, you inflict as many defeats on invaders as they do on you? The Huns came in, but there are all these horror stories about Mihirakula and Toroman, but these are Buddhist stories. Remember, Toroman and Mihirakula were also Shiva Bhaktas.
that's right.
Right? So, where was this? The Kushans never came. The Kushans made Mathura their capital. There are texts of the first time when these Turks come and see Mathura. They're completely astounded because they've never seen a city like that in their lives. Right? Something changes. Why is it that when the Kushans come in, the Kushans were also Turkic. They come from the same area. They were not Turkic, probably not Turkic. They were Bactrian stock. We still don't know the ethnic origins of the Kushans. But when they come in, why aren't they going around killing, pillaging, plundering like the way their later descendants do? There's something very wrong out there, right? Why don't we have the same? And they were Buddhists, so they didn't. They could have destroyed Hindu temples and all of that. They did not. Okay, the worst kind of atrocity literature you have from that period is very, very mild compared to what happens later in the Islamic period.
Correct.
Okay, so we were invaded by Turks for a very long time. The Huns were also Turkic people. The Kushans were probably a Turkic people who invaded us. Why don't we have the same atrocity literature associated with them, as opposed to, and this is why they keep saying it's Turkic invasions, don't call it the Islamic invasions. I'm sorry, we've had Turkic invasions before that were brutal. It's only the Islamic Turkic invasions that become particularly brutal. And the whole memory of that period is that of a nightmare, ghoulish period. Why? People don't develop these memories out of thin air. These are not concocted memories. There's clearly some very, very deep trauma at play out there. Baba Sahib Ambedkar in his book notes that, the number of Dalits went up during Muslim rule in India. And he postulates that the reason for it, by the way, those parts are carefully edited out. They only publish up to chapter 6, where he's criticizing Hinduism, and chapter 7 onwards, where he starts talking about Islamic atrocities. They don't even publish it anymore. Okay, they all these Ambedkarite movements, they try to censor all of that out. Now, what happens here is that you have Dalits who were the forefront of protecting you, got punished both by the Muslims for protecting Hinduism, and this is the worst and most shameful part of it, punished by Hindus for protecting Hinduism and getting jettisoned to the lowest levels of society. This is the kind of society you are talking about. There is something very rotten about India that sets in sometime around after the Gupta period. By the time of Harshavardhana, we are already looking at a deep, deep rot in society that continues to today. We don't know what it is, but it is.
No, you are absolutely right. And so when the Indian ministers and top political officials, including Indian army officials, navy and other officials, retired officials, when they claim in public forum in the US, when they come to give the lecture series here, that we have always been a peaceful society, we've never, like, they're trying to justify that why they are not violent. And American thinks, are you crazy? You are a defense person, and you are supposed to talk war, not peace, whether you're retired or not retired. You will never see an American general talking peace. He will say, we will do what the president of the United States wants. but the
Correct.
indian but the Indian generals, they give their own philosophy, and it just shows that
Look,
them.
it's a lack. It's a lack. It shows you the level of brainwashing that happens, the PR gloss that is put on. Just a few days back, the army chief has given a statement on the Prime Minister of Nepal's statement. Tell me, how are you even tolerating this nonsense? He's the head of your army. He isn't authorized to talk about international diplomacy. Okay, how are you even tolerating this kind of nonsense? People
True.
like that should be sacked outright, but you're tolerating it.
That's
There's
right.
something, you know, lack of discipline, lack of intellectual honesty, lack of intellectual rigor. I'm afraid we're ruled by a bunch of morons. The whole of India these days, it seems to me, there's this, what is it, the Abraham Lincoln quote? Democracy is for the people, by the people, and of the people. India is for morons, of morons, and by morons.
I won't quote you anywhere, but here, this is a very classical dichotomy. So the Hindus that are in America, and I'm talking about second generation, not the first generation. The second generation American Hindus, they have this big problem that there are something now. They have a brown bodies and brown skin, but they think like Americans. So for them, this is a classical case of losing identity. That's why they become ABCDs, American born confused Desis, because they see an American army general or American defender, they will go all out to defend and their faith as well as their country. But an Indian defender will come talk about peace. So when the defenders talk about peace, that means something seriously wrong, and the society cannot be defended. That will be my last point on this show, but I would like you to address it, please.
I think it's, well, I mean, the mythology is that Parashurama killed off all the Kshatriyas. I think it's not a statement of fact, it's a statement of psychology and sociology that India doesn't have Kshatriyas left anymore. What you have is Baniyas, Brahmins, and what have you masquerading around as Kshatriyas. That martial spirit is lost. Even the sense of defending what is right is lost. I mean, what more can you say? It's a hopeless society with it's a celebration of mediocrity and third-ratedness. And when you start celebrating mediocrity as profundity, then you know you have collapsed as a society.
That's right. Where are we going, and what are we supposed to do? Thank you so much, Abhijit Iyer. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, and it's a refreshing that someone can put the critical thoughts. I know you love India as much as anyone else does, but this is sometimes we have to tell the truth to correct a larger group of audience. And I really admire your strength and as well as patience, and doing the right thing for the country that you love. So thank you, Abhijit Ayerji, and Har Har Mahadev. Namaskar.
Jai Bhavani.